Chapter 1832 Brother and Brother. Plato said to the three of them in human language, "I am very impressed that your civilization is very powerful. If you are given enough time, you may be able to catch up with our water." But no. Plato's was suddenly silent for a moment, and then said, "That is meaningless." Plato said as if reminiscing, "In the peak period of our race, it was countless times more powerful than it is now. But it is still difficult to escape the fate of disappearing in the long river of time. And you who are weaker than us, probably used, how long will it become the dust of time?" Plato's made such a sigh, because Plato's can feel that the powerful human female who can use absolute zero is already weak. After all, before Zhang Yi came, Morana had been fighting Plato's alone for so long that she was still fighting. Without Morana's ability, Zhang Yi and Yang Xinxin would not be able to cause any harm to Plato's. But is it really so? The expression on Plato's face was neither happy nor sad, and he didn't even feel the joy of avoiding the opponent's powerful attack. It was as if a strong man from a superior civilization was preaching to people from a lower civilization. If there was any emotion at all, it was only pity. Plato's "I want to end this." But he didn't notice that the human girl, who was as beautiful as a doll and as cute as a doll, with long black hair hanging down her head like a waterfall, had suppressed the smile on her lips. Plato's raised his hand towards Zhang Yi and Yang Xinxin. Just when he was about to release his ability, he suddenly heard a clear sound in his ear. Crack. Plato's left arm immediately lost control. Under Plato's stunned gaze, the arm twisted 180 degrees like a twist, and then hit Plato's head hard. Plato's did not expect such a change to occur, and tried his best to stop it all. But this time, Plato's body is completely under control. Plato's brain completely lost contact with his body, and he could only watch helplessly as his fist hit Plato's head. Boom! The top-level demon body of mechanical civilization has an extremely powerful energy core. Even if such a configuration requires a powerful alien core to control, it still has combat power comparable to that of a bishop-level alien. At this time, had become Yang Xinxin's toy and launched the most deadly attack on Pratos. The real weakness, the brain. Plato's face is similar to a human, but not the same face, because only half of the armor is broken, but it still reveals the fact that it retains a part of the body of a carbon-based creature. As long as there are carbon-based organisms, just kill the brain. Under the violent energy burst, Plato's used his powerful telekinesis ability to resist. Morana watched this scene helplessly and glanced at Yang Xinxin with some fear. "How did you do it?" she asked in a deep voice. Yang Xinxin playfully raised a finger towards her and said with a smile, "Secret." Yang Xinxin, the world's top high IQ talent, super hacker. Her abilities are intrusive. Sin uses arrows, which can control all matter that is shot. But if she can get rid of this ability by breaking her arm after being hit by an arrow, is her arrow too weak? The most powerful weapon of hackers is the virus. A powerful Trojan horse that can invade everything and spread as quickly as a real virus. No matter the human body or the material body. But unfortunately, Plato's body is mechanical. Damn it, the more sophisticated the machine, the more it needs to be controlled by a computer, the easier it is to be hacked. So when Plato's was hit by the arrow, no matter how fast Plato's cut off his arms and thighs, Plato's body no longer belonged to Plato's. Plato's blocked the blow from his fist. Perhaps at this time, he deeply realized how strong he was. However, the consciousness of the brain has completely lost contact with the body. This is the biggest disadvantage of transforming the body into a machine. I just didn't think about it. People with high-level technological civilization were invaded by human beings who they thought were inferior civilizations using technical means, and they were invaded by the other side using special abilities. Take control of your body. This is the field in which we are good at because of the direction of the development of our civilization, science, and technology. Plato sensed the crisis, but now he had lost control of his body.
Die.
This concept has not appeared in Plato's mind for I don't know how many years. But at this moment, Plato's had this dangerous awareness. Is it scary? Maybe not, but I always feel that if I die like this, there will be a little bit of sacrifice. Perhaps this Plato's, as a carbon-based organism, has finally become capable. And Plato's younger brother, the silly Caraker. What would Caraker do if Plato's died? Plato's will definitely be destroyed by these cruel humans. When Plato's thought about this, Plato's body was continuing to rebel, and the torso had begun to self-destruct. The casserole-sized fist was pounding Plato's head into a pulp. Plato's had no choice but to continue fighting with his body. Now, even if I want to leave this body, it is difficult to do so because the brain's instructions have lost contact with the body. Plato's is fighting against his body. Plato's brain was working rapidly, looking for any way to break the situation. But Plato's finally developed a hopeless feeling of powerlessness. Because our technology is so advanced, the pursuit of the human body is getting less and less. Except for a very small number of retrosects like Plato's, the later demon god machines would only strengthen their spiritual bodies and would blindly pursue more powerful technological machines. Plato's physical body is stronger than Plato's spirit, so Plato's, whose physical body is out of control at this time, cannot disobey Plato's bodies will to kill Plato's spirit. At this time, Plato's looked far away. A few kilometers away from here, Plato's younger brother Caraker was fighting fiercely with Thor and Moon God. Caraker is an innocent child who can fight with beings other than mechanical life forms just as an interesting game. Otherwise, if Plato's really has the intention to kill the god of thunder and the god of the moon, I know how it will unfold at this time. Caraker, Plato's younger brother, also possesses the top-notch demon body. Even on Plato's, because Plato's gave Plato's all the best things in the world to Plato's only relative in the world. Plato's used his thoughts to send a signal to Caraker far away. Caraker, who was playing with Thor and Moon God, was showing off his powerful fighting skills like an outstanding martial artist at this time. There were no fancy energy attacks, just because Plato's wanted to destroy the two toys made of flesh and blood in front of him too quickly. Just relying on his indestructible fists and kicks, he was able to beat them into a state of panic. Watching the two human-shaped sandbags flying around in the air, I felt extremely happy. Plato's is somewhat reluctant to kill the two humans in front of him, because the humans he has seen are too forbidden to be played with, and they will die if they touch them casually. The two in front of me are very fun. But just when he was having fun and had forgotten everything else, Plato's voice sounded directly in his mind. Kara, get out of here quickly. Go back to the blue sky, and come out again from now on. My brother's voice was very stern, but still gentle as usual. After Caraker heard his brother's voice, he immediately stopped attacking. Alexei held the battle axe in both hands, and his combat uniform had long been broken. He was almost completely naked, revealing his steel-like muscles. Morana was injured all over, and blood was flowing and dripping in the gaps in the muscles, but Plato's was like an angry brown bear, still holding a tomahawk, with flashing thunder wrapped around his body, leaping into the air and striking at Caraker. Caraker did not block the blow, but stood there blankly, thinking about why Plato's said such words. When the battle axe hit Caraker's head hard, and the thick armor finally showed a crack, but it was just like using a utility knife to scratch the 1,000-year-old tree hard. Caraker's body has the most powerful defense among the demonic bodies. Plato's gave everything to Plato's. If is like this, from the very beginning of the fight between Plato's and Morana, he can break through Morana's defense and kill him with his pure defensive power. Pern looked at the enemy in front of him in shock, feeling a sense of despair within him. Plato's and Giselberg can't even break through each other's defense. How to fight? This thing, I'm afraid I have to shoot it with love and death to destroy it. Giselberg gritted his teeth and said with a look of despair. After Caraker was attacked, he raised his head and looked at Alexei standing in front of him. Pern, the famous thunder god in the pantheon, with his body as strong as a brown bear, looked like a child with some muscles in front of Caraker. Alexei clenched the battle axe in his hand, and his eyes glowed with blue lightning. Even though he knew how powerful his opponent was, he still wanted to fight to the death. Get away! Caraker had already realized something at this time. He knew that his brother was fighting with someone else. It's just that from just now to now, I have never paid attention to the fighting situation there. In Plato's eyes, Plato's is invincible and may be in danger. But now, as long as you pay a little attention, you can find that the situation is completely right. Facing Alexei, who is roaring towards him, Caraker's eyes were as clear as a child's and suddenly became furious. Plato raised his palm, which was comparable to a door panel, and slapped Alexei fiercely. Boom! Alexei's body was hit hard by the unimaginable force with lightning speed, and he could even clearly hear the sound of his own bones breaking. The next moment, his body disappeared directly on the spot, and he was shot away at a speed comparable to that of a missile until he crashed to the ground after flying several thousand meters. Caraker had no time to care about these two flesh and blood toys that he had just obtained. He suddenly exerted his strength and ran towards the battlefield where Plato's was. Josberg stood there in a daze. From the beginning to the end, he didn't even have a chance to respond, and the other party didn't even look at him, and just left. He didn't know for a moment whether he should be happy or sad. Another battlefield. Plato's completely lost control of his body, and his failure has become a definite fact. However, this person with strong telepathy ability is really difficult to kill. Even if he is killed by his own mechanical body, he can still use his telepathy to form a barrier to protect his head. Not far away, hundreds of self-destructing daggers were hovering in the air. These daggers failed to attack their targets because they lost control. Zhang Yi didn't let Yang Xinxin use it. It was too precious and must be kept. So he directly reached out and put away all the self-destructing daggers. Morana was extremely jealous at this scene because she knew how powerful the red energy crystals on the self-destructing daggers contained. But at the moment, she has no strength to fight anymore and cannot fight with Zhang Yi, so she can only keep her mouth shut. Seeing that Plato's was still struggling, Zhang Yi calmly made 2 guns with the magic weapon and loaded bullets into them skillfully. Xinxin, drag him over and keep him within 5 kilometers of my attack range, Zhang Yi said to Yang Xinxin. Yang Xinxin nodded and immediately controlled Plato's body to fly this way, just enough to put him within Zhang Yi's attack range. Zhang Yi raised the 2 guns in his hands, locked his position accurately, and then suddenly fired bullets from the 2 guns in his hands. Plato's can still resist the attack of the mechanical body. After all, the telekinesis master is no joke. Feeling Zhang Yi's bullet attack, he realized that something was wrong. Because from those bullets, I didn't feel very strong energy, and he knew there was something fishy inside. But now, knowing and being able to do it are 2 different things. He had to watch Zhang Yi's bullets flying. Plato's used part of his power to distort the flight paths of those bullets so that they could not shoot towards him. But when they arrived around Plato's body, they suddenly exploded in the air. A deafening sound rang in Plato's ears, and the entire space suddenly turned dazzling white, causing Plato's to temporarily become blind. Zhang Yisan wore a tactical helmet and used intelligence to adjust the light and receive sound for them to avoid being hurt by sudden bright light and strong noise. It's Plato's who doesn't have such good luck. Only one brain was left under his control, and he lost the protection of his mechanical body, so he directly withstood the impact of strong sound and light at close range. In an instant, his eardrums were directly shattered, his brain was buzzing, and he could not see anything with his eyes. At this time, Plato's only has his strong original power, but he has lost his physical body and lost his 5 senses. No matter how strong he is reduced to a piece of fish on the chopping board. It's time to end this. Zhang Yi aimed at Plato's and stretched out his right hand. The Divine Realm's ability to purify tribulations is activated instantly. The powerful force of space instantly hit Plato's, whose head was no longer protected and collapsed. Puff. One of the most powerful demon gods in mechanical civilization, he finally died as a carbon-based biological creature. The existence of relying on high-tech power will become extremely fragile after losing the blessing of technological power. He died after all. Zhang Yi looked at the strong energy he had left in the air and instantly activated his space shuttle ability. The power is so strong that it can be felt very clearly. Morana was a little ready to make a move, But after measuring her own fighting strength at this time, she had no choice but to take a deep breath and suppress the thought of fighting for him. After dealing with the enemy, if she went to rob him, she believed that Zhang Yi would not show mercy to her, because it would be the same if it were her. The strong energy was directly absorbed by Zhang Yi. Just by touching it, he could feel the pure power. Even without the blessing of a powerful demon body, this power must have at least a power index of 36,000 points. Zhang Yi quickly put it into the container. He could not quickly absorb such a huge energy body at this moment. Just when he killed Plato's, suddenly, he felt the space tremble. A very powerful being was rushing in this direction at an alarming speed. Due to the speed, a storm emerged on the ground. It's that guy. Zhang Yi immediately realized who it was, another unregistered demon beside Plato's. According to the intelligence, his defense power is extremely terrifying, even surpassing Plato's. But his strength cannot surpass Plato's. Plato's. Caraker flew towards the battlefield. When Plato's brain was crushed, he felt the life breath of Plato's disappear. Fear, anger, all kinds of emotions made him explode. He roared and ran towards Zhang Yi's direction. Zhang Yi just waited a little and made this judgment. With his current attack method, it would be difficult to break through Caraker's defense. He is not good at attacking, not to mention that Caraker's armor is too thick, and it can even block the terrifying energy in the explosion area of the Death of Love core. Xin, are you sure you can control him? Zhang Yi asked Yang Xin, wanting to directly use Yang Xinxin's ability to control this big guy. Yang Xin looked at the rushing hurricane, shook her head and said, "He is too fast, and my arrows can't keep up." Mirana's face was already pale at this time. She didn't say anything, she just shook her head towards Zhang Yi. This is to express that she cannot use Absolute Zero again. Her body has been seriously injured, and she cannot continue to fight. Zhang Yi has almost no information about Caraker, except that he has extremely strong defense and strength. However, he had been fighting with Giselberg and Alexei for such a long time, and those two were not dead when Zhang Yi arrived. So, judging from this, his strength may not be as terrifying as imagined. Immediately, Zhang Yi entered the dimensional gate on the way forward of Caraker. He wanted to see if this was a mechanical life form with little intelligence. If it was, it would be able to rush directly into another dimension. Running wildly, when Caraker was about to rush into the dimensional gate, he suddenly stopped, but he did not choose to attack Zhang Yi. He was extremely flexible and bypassed the dimensional gate and ran towards the body of Plato's.
Go.
Zhang Yi originally wanted to put away Plato's body. Although Plato's died, his mechanical body was still running and was controlled by Yang Xin. Zhang Yi thought for a while and then understood Caraker's idea. He said to Yang Xin, "Let him take away Demon God Yi's body." Yang Xin understood what Zhang Yi was planning, so she controlled Plato's body to fall towards the ground. Call. Caraker passed by like a storm and held Plato's body in his arms. At this time, only Plato's mechanical body was left, and his head was missing. His only characteristic as a carbon-based biological existence has been crushed into blood flowers by Zhang Yi. Plato's. Where is your head? Caraker didn't even glance at Zhang Yi. He anxiously called for his brother in his arms. Yang Xin raised her right hand, and Plato's only remaining left hand suddenly turned into a sharp blade and stabbed Caraker's chest.
Ping.
The sound of metal hitting was heard, and Caraker's chest was directly penetrated. Was made of, so he could not feel the pain. When he noticed the movements of Plato's body, he suddenly realized, "Brother, do you want this? I know. This will cure you." He stretched out his hand and pulled some complex mechanical parts from his chest. Electricity rushed through his body, causing his movements to become stiff. Brother, this is for you, we'll fix it." He raised his arm and handed the parts of his body to Plato's like a treasure. From the hole in his chest, a dark green liquid similar to engine oil was flowing. Those parts were like his internal organs, and the dark green mechanical blood on them was poured onto Plato's. Seeing this scene, Fatty Sue bit his hand in the shadow space, tears welling up in his eyes. No, Plato's is wrong. It makes us look like bad people. However, most of them have experienced too many cruel battles. Although they are a little touched, they will not be merciful because of this. They have experienced too many scenes that are more tragic, more terrifying, and more pitiful than this. In wars between civilizations, there is only victory and defeat, and there is no right or wrong. Caraker's defense was in vain in front of Plato's. With his strong defense, it was already difficult for Zhang Yisan to defeat him at this time. But he thought his brother needed help, so he decided to take out the most precious nuclear materials. However, Plato's could no longer respond to him. Bang! A ball of flames exploded on the spot. Caraker was too anxious to use his own body to fill the missing head of Plato's. His too rough movements directly caused his own body to be damaged. This indestructible body was actually so damaged. Zhang Yi took a deep breath, but his eyes didn't waver much. And this as soon as possible. Yang Xinxin nodded. She controlled Plato's body and moved again. This time, Caraker was completely killed. He was still holding Plato's tightly when he died. Even though his head was penetrated by Plato's, he did not make any resistance.